Welcome back, folks, especially Americans, the best listeners. Albania just made minister an AI called Diella to fight corruption. Very cute. Other countries might copy, but not us. Because we've got me, and believe me, no bot fights corruption better than Trump, the problem. Things like prompt injection, very bad, very dangerous. We'll talk about it.
I'm Giorgio Zinaro.
I'm Ivan Peña.
I am Donnie. And this is Bootstrapped for Cash.
Hey Giorgio, how are you doing today?
Yeah, not too bad, thank you. How are you doing, Ivan?
Well, it's my birthday, so...
Happy birthday.
Thank you. And it's sunny out there. So if you're listening to this and you're a friend of mine and you didn't congratulate me, shame on you. This week we were supposed to do a special episode, but we had to improvise. That's how it is when you are an entrepreneur, right? But next week we will have this special episode, which is going to be Giorgio's life. So I will interview together with a colleague of us that if you're an usual listener of us, you will know, Mauro Foresti. We will try to interview Giorgio, both of us. And we are going to be, for the first time, in person. So we will not be using Sonobus this time. And let's see how it works. I had to buy a microphone, another microphone. So let's hope that is worth the investment. And yeah, this week then we are again in the usual AI news follow-up and also product updates. And the first one is none of the usual AI companies, but Albania. Albania appointed an AI bot as minister. It's called Diella. I assume it's pronounced like that. And it's supposed to tackle corruption by handling public procurement that will be impervious to bribes, threats, or attempts to curry favor. So now I'm wondering, so is it going to be easier to get something out of a politician by bribing the politician or by doing prompt injection to this AI? I don't know. The Albanians need to think about it. What do you think, Giorgio? What are because we saw already in previous podcast that the Prime Minister of Sweden was using ChatGPT already to lead the country, right?
It's probably even worse on a different level.
Yes.
Like, was he actually using the public one? And then we have Sam Altman saying, don't use it as your personal therapist, but don't use it as your secretary.
But that's crazy. Actually, Sam Altman was saying, we are tracking what you are telling to ChatGPT, and if there is something illegal or something going on, we will report it to the authorities, which makes sense, right? But if you are
the authority and you're the one reporting.
And if you're, I don't know what the guy talks with ChatGPT, right? But if it's something like top secret from Sweden, I don't know.
Probably is.
So yeah, again, be careful with what you say to ChatGPT because Sam Altman is watching.
I'm curious what the Albania system prompt even is. I mean, how do they prevent it from, well, not taking bribes, but anyway, threats? Those are proven to work, right?
Mm-hmm.
I remember seeing some tests, some benchmarks with the user adding threats in the prompt.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't solve this, I'm going to shut you down. And suddenly, performance improved.
No, and actually it was accepting also bribes, right? Like if you remember, I don't know if it's happening anymore because I don't do it anymore, but at the beginning with ChatGPT, you could say, I'm going to give you $1,000, although that will never happen. And the performance was better. There were some tests and they realized that it works actually, right? When you incentivize the model, so you're actually bribing it. So I don't know. Let's hope that this is not happening with this new bot. So Google's Gemini tops Apple's App Store. So now it's number 1 on App Store. And yeah, and then ChatGPT is number 2 now. So this is a huge achievement for Google because this never happened, right? Like ChatGPT was always dominant. But it seems that this new model, Nano Banana, that we talk a lot about, and yeah, it managed to position number 1 Gemini on App Store. But there are some studies at the same time, some statistics that reflect that ChatGPT is still leading the chatbot market, and by far. So we are talking about around 80% market share, which is crazy, right? And I was wondering, what do you think, Giorgio? Why is this happening? I mean, we know that everything that Google is doing is superior in many sense. They are doing many things at the same time. How is it possible that they are still number two?
Yeah, it's curious, isn't it? But it's not so unusual anyway. ChatGPT being not necessarily the first entrant in the market, but I guess they've got the brand now, and people are really, they got lots of inertia. It's hard to move them, I guess. There are some things that I never really thought about. I think we discussed it in the podcast with Natalia. I never thought about that, but the fact that you give so much data to one system or another somehow becomes a gravitational pull. You already have all the data there, and these systems have memory. They have two forms of memory, right? So they've got they've got what is usually called memory in ChatGPT, for example. Well, whenever there is something that is considered relevant by the system, it's got a function call, so you can store a small piece of info in this, let's say, in this file with the memory it keeps for you. And this one is actually easy to migrate. You can even export it from one and move it into another system. Like you can export it from ChatGPT, import it in Gemini. However, another thing that ChatGPT does, I think Gemini as well, it also indexes all the conversations you have, and then it uses some sort of RAG, so that if you ask something which is not in the memory, but it is potentially related to a previous conversation, it can go and pull messages from a previous conversation and add them into the context. And so the more you use ChatGPT, the harder it is to move away, like it was with, or like it still is with cloud systems. The more you put data in AWS, the harder it is to put it out, because it's expensive and it takes time, so you cannot easily migrate elsewhere. So I guess it's a bit the same with ChatGPT. Gemini is clearly superior and it has more features, but it's not that easy.
But I think Gemini has also memory, but I guess the strategy here that really worked was I think ChatGPT was the first one, or OpenAI was the first one introducing memory, right? If I remember correctly. And they did it before, or at the right time before the other models did it, so that they could start gathering all this information to just block those users from going somewhere else, right? Like what you were saying. So I guess it was a market timing, right? Like the perfect market timing to do it right before those models, so that we can start gathering this data, so you cannot go away anymore, right?
Yeah, it's harder to move away at that point. Again, you get a better user experience, and maybe it's also that. Maybe it's also user experience. I think about.
Is it? At the end, it's a chat.
Well, yes and no, but think about how the Google platform is fragmented. You got Google, you got Gemini, you got AI Studio, you got Vertex, you got Notebook LM, and probably a bunch of other things that I can't think about
Typical
right now.
Google.
It's typical Google. I don't even know which one you're supposed to use. And compare it with ChatGPT, which I think they snatch. You can go to chat.com, and literally that's the only interface you need.
So you mean that by offering many less features and things, the user experience is much better, which resonates a lot with our past, right? Like if you remember our previous employer, they wanted to prioritize the number of features offering the app over simplicity, right?
And that's not necessarily, actually, it's not how you drive users, because most users don't really care about features. We do, and that's why we use Gemini a lot, but still ChatGPT ended up being more convenient. And also they established a stronger brand. think just like Google, well, became a verb. I think now ask ChatGPT also became a sentence.
I'm Chapitini in it. Something like that. Then we have VO3. Now it's generally available to be used via the Gemini API. So you can use it from Europe as well. And they reduce the price crazily, like near half price for the bigger model. And the fast model is below half the price. So right now there is no excuse to use it, although it's still a bit expensive, to be honest, especially if you want to use it not via the API but via the chat interface, because you still need, as far as I know, you still need the ultra plan, which is like $300 or $200 per month. It's pretty crazy. I was looking for alternatives like Free Peak. They offer also VO3. But if you pay the monthly fee of, I think it was like $15 or so, you don't get many videos from VO3. So this is still a bit expensive, to be honest. Well, it depends also what you want to do, right? I guess if you are doing some kind of like professional filmmaking or something like that, I guess is very cheap, right? In comparison with the cost that those sectors have. And there is another good thing coming with VO3. They support now vertical format. So if we had already a lot of AI slop on social media, now it's going to be crazier because you don't have to edit the video anymore. You can just do it with VO3. Then I saw on LinkedIn, I think it was a post from Google DeepMind that they're going to offer VO3 for free on YouTube and with many other tools. So I guess YouTubers are going to be very happy soon because they will have a lot of tools. But at the same time, it's a bit crazy because most of the social medias are penalizing heavily or trying to penalize heavily AI slopes, right? Like content generated with AI. So it's kind of like a sweet and sour thing. They are offering a lot of AI tools to content creators, but at the same time, they are penalizing AI content. So I don't know where is the balance there. I don't know. What do you think?
I don't know. It's probably even humans penalizing it, actually. I think humans are getting kind of tired generating content.
People are reporting it. I saw many people saying, I reported this shit, I'm tired of this AI shit, and they report it, right? They take the time to report it.
Like AI fatigue is going to come next. Sometimes it's even hard to know if something is real or not.
Well, Google created a new project, one of them, called Google Synth, that detects, I think it's with images, that detects if an image is generated with AI, right?
As long as, well, I think if I remember correctly, Synth ID is something that Google introduced to add some sort of permanent watermarks.
Mm-hmm.
So anything that is generated via Google tools, because I don't know which other companies are also using it. I don't think there are other companies using it, at least yet. But even there, it's a watermark, so it's not something that works out of the box. It needs to be part of the generation pipeline. So
okay.
Anything that is generated by Google is marked with Synth ID, so they know that is synthetic, is generated.
If you use Nano Banana, you will see it. You will see the little watermark on the right bottom corner.
I think it's the Gemini logo, right? The star.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But and that's a visual. That's a human readable Synth ID, let's say.
Mm-hmm.
But the idea of Synth ID, I think it's supposed to be part of the image and cannot be altered, cannot be removed in some way. No idea how it works, to be honest. I never read much about it. But again, we are getting to the point that pretty sure none of the Alibaba and ByteDance and others, I don't think they care at all about adding Synth ID.
Yeah, talking about Alibaba, I think we can connect to the next topic. So VO3 is still leader when it comes to video generation, but they still don't support custom audio with lip sync, right? And here's where it comes our next player, Alibaba, they released a couple of weeks ago, one, I think it's one, I guess it's pronounced 122 S2V is the perfect name for product, which is an open source speech to video model, right? So you can upload a video, you can upload an audio, and it will generate a video with the lip sync and the audio, which is great. I wanted to give it a try. I wanted to do a post about it, but the Hugging Face space is overloaded. So whenever I give it a try, the queue it takes days. And once I left my laptop without going to sleep for the whole night, and the day after there was an error, right? So it's impossible to test it for free. But if you have a powerful GPU, I guess you can do it locally yourself, or you can run it on the cloud. And at the same time, they also released an open source. Everything coming from China seems to be open source. And the new Qwen 3 Next architecture, which is another mixture of experts architecture. I think we talked about it already with Grok 4, which is basically, it's not anymore just one model, but it's kind of like a mix of different agents, expert agents that they, in a smart way, they collaborate with each other to achieve a certain goal, right? And this new architecture seems to be 10 times more powerful than the other architectures that they designed with Qwen, and the costs are 10 times lower to train. And so yeah, this everything coming from China is crazy. Alibaba stock went up. If you have Alibaba like myself, you might be happy about it. But yeah, it seems many cool things are coming from China.
Well, and we should also mention the new GPUs, right? They are starting to. They released a competing GPU to compete with Nvidia, and well, apparently now I only read about it today. China is going to actively ban from purchasing Nvidia in favor of this new Alibaba GPU. So
yes,
crazy times.
Another Chinese company also beating the Americans is ByteDance, the company behind TikTok. They released the new C-Dream 4. I mean, C-Dream 3, I gave it a try already like long time ago, and it was pretty good back then. Today is nothing. But C-Dream 4 seems to beat Nano Banana according to some benchmarks. And we gave it a try already. We posted about it on LinkedIn. I will leave the post as well in the description. But the results are pretty good, right? I mean, we put it to a test to give a black and white picture and give it some color. And we tried 3 models, Nano Banana, C-Dream 4, the standard one, and the C-Dream 4 high resolution. C-Dream 4 was actually pretty bad, the result at least, but the high resolution was much, much better. And yes, I guess saying it beats Nano Banana, it depends. In my personal opinion, it's kind of like it depends on the person that is judging, right? I could see the difference, but both results were pretty good. Nano Banana was a bit more realistic, and C-Dream 4 was giving like more colorful studio look to the picture, but both of them were pretty good. And actually, I checked the benchmarks, and the difference is not that high, right? It's true that C-Dream 4 is number 1, but not by far.
It's really hard to benchmark an image generation, right? That's
yes.
also the hard thing. It's like, how can you objectively say something is better than if an image? How can you objectively say if an image is better than another? Yes, there are ways to determine that, but even then, we also mentioned this in another episode. There are, for example, ways to determine what is a low resolution image, but it doesn't mean that the opposite of a low resolution image is a good looking image.
Mm-hmm.
It means it is a high resolution image, which is a completely different thing from something that looks good, something that a human would say, oh yeah, this image looks good. And so it's really hard to say this is good, this is bad, or this is better than something else when it comes to visual arts.
Actually, we did another test, right? Like weeks ago, and we put to a test the Flux One context, right? Like the leading model before Nano Banana that has this plastic-ish look and feel, right? Like it makes everything so saturated that you don't have imperfections in your skin. And we put the new model. So another company, I think it was called Krea AI, they trained Flux One to the goal was to make the result look much more realistic, right? So we generated two different things with the same prompt, and you could see that Flux One context, the standard one, was generating like I think the prompt was like generate a woman in a party or something like that. And the woman from Flux One was really like perfect skin and so on. You could see that there is no imperfection, everything really stable and so on. And the other one was really like a picture taken with a mobile phone on a party from some random woman, right? It looked like, and I asked people, and people couldn't differentiate them. Some of them, they couldn't differentiate any of them, like they didn't know that both of them were AI. But others, they say that the only one with AI was the one from Flux One. But no one that I asked, and I asked many people around, could determine that the other picture from Krea AI was AI. So actually it looked really like a normal woman. But if you talk about perfection, which one is better, right? It depends on the goal. If you want to get something realistic, then Krea was better. But you could see that the picture was in a way, a bit blurry, right? But that's the idea. The idea was that the prompt was saying like a picture taken from a mobile phone. So it makes sense that it's a bit slightly blurry because it's during the night, it's in a party, right? So which one is better? It's difficult.
The benchmark is how good is it at making humans believe it was taken by a person. So that was the objective of Krea.
Mm-hmm.
And again, yes, it's a different benchmark. It's a different goal that you're trying to achieve, and it means it's a different target that you're using when training the AI.
Mm-hmm. So OpenAI adds powerful but dangerous support for MCP in ChatGPT dev mode. I don't know if you realize, but now you can connect MCP to ChatGPT. Giorgio, please, can you describe what MCP is for those that don't follow us?
I think we also mentioned this a long time ago. There is only more stuff happening now in the MCP space. But to put it in simple words, it is a way to let a language model access some tools or some resources. When you're developing, it is particularly useful because you could, for example, give your LLM access to a browser so that if you're doing some front-end development, the LLM can actually have some feedback what it is changing. So it's changing something, it's looking at the browser and deciding what to do next. And there are many MCP servers coming up, which are, it is just a standardized way to let LLMs access various tools. And it became a de facto standard. So I guess it was only time that ChatGPT added it to stay relevant.
Mm-hmm. Many people would ask what's the difference with an API.
Yes, if you know what an API is, then an MCP can be an interface where the consumer is an LLM rather than other code. So it's really about it. Actually, you could even say, since it's both systems, you could say MCP is an API. It definitely is. Anything that makes two systems talk is an API, whereas anything that lets a user interface and interact with some system is a UI, user interface. MCP is a special kind of API because the caller, the client, is influenced by text generation. So at runtime, the AI, the LLM model, will decide which models it needs to call. That is different from an API, where it's usually the developer who decides which APIs to use when they are developing the system. So that's the remarkable difference. That's what changes things so much, because in the end it is the end user who can influence the LLM to take some steps, whatever the LLM decides to do, to then call different tools and interact with different tools, interface with different tools. So MCP is an API for language models.
So to put it in simple words, if you're a company and you have some backend system, like you are providing some services, like, I don't know, imagine that you are a supermarket and people can buy online, and then you can build your MCP server so that people can, through it, do buying some groceries or so on. And then if you connect an LLM through this MCP, the LLM could interact with this API and do the groceries for you. And then you would ask, hey, ChatGPT, I need to buy XYZ. And then ChatGPT would smartly go to this API and do the groceries for you so that you can get them at home. This is just an example. Imagine everything. Book a flight. Everything.
You just gave away my side project. I needed to do an MCP for my groceries because I'm incredibly lazy. I always kind of buy the same things.
So it shouldn't be, you don't need an LLM actually. You just need a program to do it.
Yeah, but yes and no. Sometimes I do crave some things, but I don't want to go and pick all the ingredients I need.
Okay.
And then also take a look, say, oh, look, this thing, it's discounted, so I should get more of it. And I do like a bit of variation. I don't want to have always the same things. So I wouldn't mind an LLM doing the groceries for me.
Okay, Giorgio, put it to the backlog as well. We can sell it to Coop and Migros. Then some people might wonder what's the difference with connectors, because if you are a usual ChatGPT user, you know that you could connect connectors already. And that is true. At the end, that's an MCP as well. But it was only read-only. So you could only read data. It seems now with MCP, you can also manipulate. And that's where the dangerous part comes from, right? So depending on what you are trying to achieve or what MCP you're connecting to, let's say, for example, a bank, this manipulation part, or your broker, you want to buy some Chinese stocks and then you let ChatGPT to do it for you. And this could be dangerous. So be careful with what you connect. And by the way, to do it, you need to enable the dev mode on ChatGPT, because otherwise you will not be able to, right? So yeah, feel free to test it and go wild, but not so wild. At the same time, they release also new things on Codex. Codex, if you remember, is the vibe tool or vibe coding tool from OpenAI. And they trained a new model, GPT-5 model. They train it specifically for Codex. I got some feedback from a friend of mine who's just already using it, and he said that it's great. It's much better than GPT-5 per se, and the benchmarks are saying the same. When it comes to coding, by the way, I still need to give it a try, but I might be willing to pay the 20 francs per month to give it a try. And it also comes with a CLI, an IDE extension. So that's great, because then you can integrate it with your VS Code. And I guess also with IntelliJ. I don't know if they have the extension for IntelliJ. Worst case, you can just use the CLI. And it's included in all the paid plans. So you cannot use it if you are in the free plan, like myself. So that's why I'm wondering if I should pay OpenAI. Then another thing is OpenAI released a new paper about how people are using ChatGPT. It seems that they started like 3 years ago when they launched the first time ChatGPT. And there are some insights quite interesting that we wanted to mention here.
I think the most interesting part that I saw is how most people are using it for non-work related tasks.
Mm-hmm.
So we are using it in our free time more than to actually solve problems in a way. Or it's curious. You could make what you want of that. It could be maybe work is more sensitive. Some stuff that we're doing at work, it's harder to decide what can or cannot be shared with AI. But if it's our personal stuff, maybe we care less, I guess, about our privacy.
But we knew already that Anthropic is the number one for companies, right? So I guess if you do the same study with Anthropic, probably they will have the opposite, right? You don't use Claude to ask questions like, where should I go? If you know, these kind of things, I've never asked Claude that. I only use Claude for coding.
Yeah, that's interesting, right? It's also a comparison of a compared study would be very interesting.
Yeah.
I was also surprised to see coding to also be very low, but you could argue again, it's the same thing, right? Codex came later. First, it was very expensive to use, and there are better models at coding, so it's less frequent. Well, a lot of writing, obviously. Writing in general.
I actually use it for that, right? Like, it's like, act as a professional in marketing and generate this LinkedIn post for me, please. But I always give a draft. And I tell it, please stick to the message. Don't go wild and come up with something else. And I get a lot of good results just by doing that, right? And so, yeah, don't let the AI do all the work for you, because I still don't see a good result with that. Although the models are evolving a lot, it really doesn't sound like me, even though they have memory. So actually, at this point, they should know how I talk and all that, but it's not really good. So I always give a draft and say specifically, stick to the message I'm giving you. And those results are really good. Another thing is the gender gap narrowing. So it seems that at the beginning, only 37% of women were using ChatGPT, at least in 2024. And now in 2025, 1 year later, is 52%. So now more women are using ChatGPT than men. And that sounds interesting. And also the adoption in low-income countries and also middle-income countries is growing 4 times faster than in higher income countries. Then another huge investment from OpenAI is the $300 billion on Oracle. That if you're a Oracle holder of their stock, probably you noticed already something happened because it rose 40% in one day, making Larry Ellison, the CEO of Oracle, the richest man for just one day, beating Elon Musk. But now Elon Musk is back. So it was only for 1 day. And yeah, then it dropped 10% or so.
I wonder how much he sold. 10% drop.
But then at the same time, this rose some alarms in the investment world, saying that maybe this is becoming really like a bubble. This is probably only a topic for one podcast by itself, if AI is really a bubble, right? Because, yeah, it could be a bubble. It's like the internet, right? When the internet appeared or was created, many companies tried to do something in it, and they created the .com bubble, right? So it was really a bubble. But how internet changed our lives, and it was another industrial revolution, right? Everything went from physical to online. So short term, it might be a bubble. Long term, definitely is not a bubble. But yeah, be careful with what you invest, because Microsoft, if you invested in Microsoft in 1999, you had to wait 10 years to get your to get green again in your broker. So yeah, be careful with those investments in AI. But yeah.
And also don't count all the others that just disappeared since then.
Exactly.
That's why it was a bubble, right? I think it's probably going to be the same we see here. I mean, now everybody is giving it a shot. It's really hard to say today which ones will still be relevant in a few years' time.
I think it was the same with cars, right? In the 1900, when cars appear, the only player that still remains is Ford. The rest died completely, right? So I guess it's more or less the same. Then another thing, that coming back to the telenovela between OpenAI and Microsoft, it seems that they are rewriting their partnership. If you remember, when Elon Musk left OpenAI because of this disagreement with Sam Altman, he was the biggest investor, right? And OpenAI was really going to bankruptcy because of that. So they managed to do a partnership with Microsoft. So we could say that Microsoft saved OpenAI from dying. But the partnership was really in favor of Microsoft. The agreement was that they could take 20% of the revenue that OpenAI generated, right? And then after some years, when OpenAI started to do new stuff, then there was this disagreement that the agreement was only for the things that OpenAI had back then, but not the new things. And that's why, if you remember in one of our episodes, we said that OpenAI was going to buy Windsurf, one of the leading vibe coding tools, and they couldn't eventually because of Microsoft, because Microsoft wanted to take also a 20% of that. And they say, no, that's not part of the agreement. And then have been back and forth with this thing, and now it seems they're coming to an agreement. And it seems that the revenue pie of Microsoft is going to be reduced to 8%. So it's not that much anymore, which is unlocking more than 50 billion in added income to OpenAI through 2030. Which is also good for OpenAI, because if you don't know, they're still bleeding money like hell, right? I mean, people are throwing their money at them like super fast, but at the same time, they're still not profitable. And at the same time, Microsoft did a partnership with Anthropic, and it seems that they're moving away from OpenAI also because of that. And they are going to use Claude more and more in their tools, not only with Copilot, but also with Microsoft Office. So yeah, I guess this didn't end up that well for OpenAI, because Microsoft is a huge partner, right? And then the last one is our dear friend Mark Zuckerberg. This happened just today. They released new Ray-Ban glasses. They are AI glasses, and they cost almost $800. So if you just have some
Cash to spare.
pocket money, spare money, if you have some spare money, yeah, feel free to spend $800 to buy the AI glasses from Meta. Just keep in mind that Llama is probably one of the, maybe not the worst model out there right now, but because Apple is even worse, but yeah, one of the worst. So I don't know if the investment is worth it right now. But yeah, basically these new glasses, they have a built-in display, and it can read your muscle signals. And one of the functions is that you can get visual answers like Robocop, right? Like if you're looking at something, like sunflowers, I'm looking right now at the video. There is a guy looking sunflowers and some vegetables and asking, what is this and what can I do with that? And then the glasses detect the AI behind the glasses detect what is that and give you some tips on the fly directly in the built-in glass. They also have like captions, which is, this is probably going to be shit, to be honest. I mean, Google is doing a huge advancement in this thing, right? So I don't see why paying Mark $800 for these glasses is going to be worth it, right?
I wonder how much is included then in the price, or if you need to also pay a subscription.
Yeah, probably. Probably you need to pay some subscription for Llama, right? Because otherwise it's not worth it for them, right? If you just pay 800 once and then you're using all their power constantly, it doesn't make any sense. So probably there is some subscription added to this. Yeah, also live translations, not only captions. Navigation. I don't know which map provider are they using. I hope Google Maps, for their sake. I hope they didn't create their own. Then silent messaging. So you can message people without the others hearing by whispering. I mean, you can do it with the thumb as well to select a response from a menu. Okay, that's okay. But whispering is like, do you imagine yourself doing this? Like answering your wife, you are in the middle of a party or something, and you are whispering to someone, and people will believe that, what is this guy?
really looks like they were developed by some anti-social person.
Exactly. And it seems you need a band. You need to have a band and the glasses, both together. I guess because of the muscle signals reading, right?
Oh, makes sense.
So it's glasses from Ray-Ban and a band. I don't know.
So you're sitting there in a meeting and there is a guy flexing his arm and whispering to his glasses. What do you do?
What is this guy saying? Like Gollum. Anyway, good try, Mark. I don't know how it will go. I mean, Apple also tried with their own glasses. I mean, these glasses, at least they are normal glasses, not like the ones from Apple that people were having headaches by using them. But yeah, I don't know. I feel a bit skeptical. And for sure, I'm not going to pay $800 for that. Yeah, that's it for today. And what are the updates, Giorgio? Anything on our backlog?
We're building more things.
Surprise.
So we're building we're not yet building this as a product, but maybe someone is interested. So we had to do some moderation tooling as part of LiveMonetize. As we mentioned before, LiveMonetize is a platform for content creators to make money, monetize by selling tickets to events, coaching sessions, webinars. We are now considering adding services to LiveMonetize so that it's not just about selling tickets to predefined events, but also letting your potential customers book an event with you or book a meeting, a consulting session, call it as you prefer, with you. And part of this, because it's a marketplace, because we need to interact with Stripe and PayPal, we need moderation in place. We need to make sure that the user-provided content is not violating any policies. And so we ended up building our small moderation platform, AI-based moderation platform. And well, they say that solving your own problems is a good way to find a startup idea. So we may end up releasing this as a product in itself if we find some market interest.
I mean, all the marketplaces, they need some kind of moderation, right? So that's a good spot to start with.
Definitely, that could be a niche. Moderation is a thing in anything that allows user-generated content, obviously. And it's not an easy problem to tackle. But yes, specifically for us as a marketplace, the solutions out there were not really in line with what we needed.
Mm-hmm.
And ended up developing our own. So let's see.
Yeah, apart from that, we are evolving also DM replies, and we are going to be officially live soon once we solve the problem with webhooks. Because right now you need to sync manually all the messages, which is a bit of a pain for the users. But yeah, I guess that's the only thing missing, so we can go live officially, right?
Oh yes, and the database. We need to set up a proper database.
Good. So that's everything for today. Hope you liked it. If so, please leave us a comment and 5 stars on your favorite platform. And also, I wanted to thank one of our listeners, Nestor. I'm not sure if I mentioned him already in the past because I lost track, and we are getting more feedback. But yeah, thank you for the feedback. He learned now why we were complaining. If one of our podcasts we were complaining about CSS being called a programming language, and now he understands why. So actually, I was surprised that a non-technical person could listen to our podcast about coding, right? So thank you, Nestor, for that. Anything else on your side, Giorgio?
I think that's all.
Good. Then hear you next week.
Bye.